I really need to tell you what happened last night. It was so weird, completely freaked me out. Jamie was already snoring and I must have been half asleep, but there was this noise. It took me a while to work out what it was and where it was coming from. I half hoped it would be you calling, as if you'd ring in the middle of the night. I got up and I followed the sound and I realised that the radio in the kitchen had turned itself on all by itself. That's so creepy, isn't it? I'm not making it up. And the funny thing is that Jamie is obsessive about turning things off. I mean, he actually unplugs the radio completely when he's finished listening to the 6 o'clock news. He never asks me if I want the radio on in the first place. He just turns it on as soon as we sit down to eat. It makes me think that he does it so that he doesn't have to have an actual conversation with me. I don't know why I'm complaining. Listening to the radio is better than hearing about the latest gadget he's found out about and wants to buy. I've started a free course on the internet. I want to be able to talk about films and books and stuff the way you do. Can you imagine me trying to master literary criticism? Jamie never talks about stuff like that. So there I am, in the kitchen, middle of the night, wide awake and feeling kind of empty. I go to the fridge and I find a half bottle of wine I'd stashed away behind one of Jamie's horrible green energy drinks. I sat and drank the lot. And then, like you always say, after I get drunk, I get the munchies. So I made myself a Marmite and peanut butter sarnie. Yeah, I know you think that's a disgusting combination, but how can one right thing and another right thing not be even more magic together? Like us. I was eating the Marmite and peanut butter when I started to think about you, and the last time we were together. Our song came on the radio. Lady in Red is dancing with me, cheek to cheek, and there I am, singing in the kitchen in the wee small hours, hearing Jamie snoring, wishing I was somewhere else. Anywhere else, as long as it was with you. When I stopped crying, I went back to bed, absolutely positive that if you're not going to call me, then I will have to record something I can send to you, and that's what I'm doing. I am so worried about you. Are you sick? Every time Jamie coughs, I wonder if he's got it, and then I think, shit, if he catches it, then I'll have to self-isolate too and be stuck in the house with him for 14 days straight without even going outside for so much as a walk. You had it all worked out. You were going to go for a run and you were going to call me while you were out, but you've gone suddenly silent. Why? I crossed the park yesterday on the way home from the new supermarket, but I didn't see you there. I know you run there. I know you run there at that time. If you got ill and ended up in the hospital, how would I know where you are? No one would know. No one would know to tell me. I've even started reading the death notices in the newspaper. I mean, who does that? Who even buys a paper anymore? But if something happened to you, I might not find out any other way. I know that we said that we would wait until your kids were older, but I've already waited 2 whole years. Your kids are old enough to understand now. I've started talking to a solicitor about how to divvy things up with Jamie. I can get a place of my own. In my head, it's like I'm already there. Please call me after you've watched this. Let me know that you're okay and that you're there. Are you there?
Hi, It's me, reporting back from the Western Front. You let me know when you get this, will you? Crap journey. I mean, that road's a killer when it's broad daylight. But in the dark, on your own. Well, I guess you've been there too. It's pissing down with rain. Peter Gabriel's going, "Here comes the flood." There's sheep and deer and feral bloody mountain goats, for fuck's sake. I was run ragged before I'd got halfway. Then Kate fucking Bush chimes in with that "don't give up" shite. Well, I gave up. Drove the rest of the way in silence. Let myself in. He's in his chair, as per. Remote's all lined up. TV, radio, CD, DVD. The old DVD that he got rid of, but kept the remote. In case it comes in useful. I break the ice with some cheap jibe about the untimely demise of Betamax. And he just grunts, like he does. Aye, that grunt, in all its many guises. His favourite form of communication. She scuttled away to make a cup of tea the moment I arrived. Comes back from the kitchen, hands me mine, looks me in the eye, and turns away. That room. Much as you'll remember, probably, but it's going to seed. Tide lines on the walls, cobwebs in the corners. She can't reach like she used to. That sepia photo of great uncle, what's his name? Still stony-faced in the corner, dishing out his silent judgment on everything. Never happy, that man. And that clock on the mantelpiece. Tick, bloody tock. I bit into my standard issue, plain chocolate hobnob. "Can you not crunch in my ear?" says he snaps. And you know what? Those are the first words he's uttered since I arrived. First thing he said to my face since Christmas before last. Since, first fucking words. Can you believe that? So he's puffing away on his pipe. The three of us are sitting there. The room adding its own personal contribution to the strained atmosphere. That place has moods of its own, and it seemed pretty pissed off. Needs a lick of paint. Too late for that now. And then I realise they're waiting for someone. Dad, Mum, the room, they're all waiting. I hadn't got your message. So I tell them, she's not coming. The best they're going to get is their underachieving, unemployed, unmarried, and we all know why that is, son. Disappointed. They're fucking desolated. Then, my left-hand trouser pocket's trying to tell me something. And you're texting me. And I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say. Asking how it's going, telling me how to handle this, how to handle them. You're not there, but you can't bloody keep away, can you? And then you're gone. No, I didn't lose the signal. You went the same way as Kate Bush. I switched you off. He grudgingly let me look at the crossword. His way of letting me in, I suppose. There's just a few to get in that bottom corner. I was wondering when he'd raised the subject, the reason we were summoned up there. When he suddenly says, "It's been a lovely house." Just that. Nothing more. He puts down the paper and pen, looks at the floor, looks at me, looks away, as a tear rolls down his cheek. Can you imagine? That's got to be a first. The waves are crashing outside. So close, drowning out the clock. "I know," I says. And he looks at me. He gives me one of his special grunts. Holds my gaze. I mean, he looks at me properly. For the first time in years. And I'm welling up. And he stands up and gets a letter from behind the clock on the mantelpiece, hands it to me. It's there in black and white. Sea defence is no longer viable. village to be decommissioned, government-sponsored evacuation. There was a song going round my head from the car. Sledgehammer. And I put the letter down, squeezed his hand, and he squeezed mine back. You should have been there. You should have bloody been there. You know what? I'm glad you weren't.
Our biddy over there keeps twitching her curtains at us. Nosy old cow. She'd be tutting away to herself. That wee troublemaker shouldn't be sitting in that park. Our people are never happy. They're all miserable buggers. They've been moaning my whole bloody life about kids sitting on their arse all day, playing on their phones. Now, that's exactly what they want us to do. Hypocrites. Look at her. She'll be what I call the police before too long. Who dared that wee bugger sit on that bench? That's no daily exercise. Bloody clipe. Last time I got lifted, the postman tried to connect with me. Sad wanker. What are you doing with your life? He says. Sitting in a park, getting high. You're young. You've got your whole life ahead of you. Don't waste it. Sound like my fucking mum used to. Adults are I try to tell you what you're doing wrong and how you're wasting your life. As if they've got it all together. My dad's never worked a day in his life. He just sits on his arse, plugged into the telly, claiming off the social. Gets drunk every fucking day. At least I'm out in the fresh air getting high. Ah, look. There's another lovely family out for their daily trudge. Take a fucking picture. It'll last longer. And you know how many fat bastards I've seen out walking since this lockdown started? And every one of them gives me the sliders for sitting out here. And every day, one of the fuckers reports us. I've got rights too, you know. I'm not bothering anybody much. It wouldn't even bother us that much if the police didn't then tack us home. Before lockdown, it was fine. I could go out, see my mates, hae a smoke, bide out late. I didn't hate to go home till well late. And by then, my dad was sparkle. Now, if you stand still too long, they'll lift you and take you home. Didn't get us wrong, he doesn't batter us at that. Doesn't even care that much. He just sits there, reeking of pish and vodka. Only time he ever moves is to fetch another bottle. I hate that I can't see my mates. Their parents wouldn't let them out in case they catch the Rona. There's something really lame about sitting in the park getting high on your lonesome. Pathetic. Oh, Christ. She's only gone and called them then. It's all right, officer. No biding. See you in the morning.
Daddy'll be home soon, Charlie. He doesn't like to come home to a dirty house, does he? He likes the dishes to all be done and the toys all to be put into boxes so that it's just perfect. And you know, it was perfect once, Charlie. Your daddy and I met at uni. I knew that we were meant to be together when we met. I was studying English, a 2-1, and Daddy could do better. I went into publishing and he went into teacher training. And we got this tiny flat in the city. It was so small that you couldn't even move in the kitchen. We didn't even have a TV. We didn't need one. Mum gave us this wardrobe, and well, it was just perfect. And then we had you, Charlie. Oh God, it took us so long to have you. 10 years. But when you came along, you just made us complete. And then one day, Daddy came home and he was angry. Someone at school had complained about him, and he had to apologise, and he didn't like that. I tried to make him see sense, but, well, he didn't like that either. And I don't know who was more surprised when he did what he did. And he promised. He promised he wouldn't do it again. And he didn't. Not for a while. Oh, I knew it was my fault. I knew it was my fault, Charlie. I knew it was my fault when his dinner wasn't ready on the table at 6 o'clock on the dot. He always likes that, Charlie. He can't eat too late because, it'll give him heartburn. After he did what he did, I told no one. And then we went to this dinner party. I said something to him at the dinner party. He didn't like it, and his face went more and more purple. And when we got home, well, I had to wear polo necks for weeks after that. It was summer. It was roasting, Charlie. It's time for some of your yoghurt. I've even got that special spoon from Granny. Granny's coming to visit tomorrow. But Charlie, please don't spit any of the yoghurt on the carpet. You know what Daddy was like when you spat your milk in the car. I thought that he was going to hit you. And I will never, ever let him hit you. Granny's coming tomorrow, and I want you to know that if anything ever happens to me or to Daddy, Charlie, that Granny will look after you. I promise. I've made Daddy's special soup for tonight from the mushrooms that we picked in the woods today. I know you don't understand this just now, Charlie, but when you watch this, I want you to know that Mummy has and always will love you.
The first time we met. The first time we met, she told me about the ZENO paradox. She was fascinating. Green eyes, complained about her curly hair, checked shirt, jeans, whitest pair of Converse I've ever seen, like she'd levitated in from the shop without once touching the ground. And I remember she would bite her thumb, and I wasn't quite getting it, but she could see I was almost there. Noticed. With her, I noticed. I look around this room, at you, And I know I've sat in this chair before. That outdated fountain pen scratching out our allocated time. But that detail is new. Well, not new. I know it was all here the same last week and the weeks before. But if someone asked me an hour from now about those details, I won't remember. My system won't have saved the information. Operator error. People, other people, notice. Empirically, that's definitely a thing people do. Definitely. They take the time, paying attention to the detail of people, noticing. Honestly, to me, that seems like a superpower. That's not me. I don't notice those other people details. I like other people, but my brain sometimes decides their names are an unnecessary waste of RAM. I worry that I'm not liked, understood. It's not that I don't care, I really do. I'm not some sort of psychopath with no empathy, although if you haven't read John Ronson's book, it turns out most of us tick some boxes. Need for stimulation? Tick. Lack of realistic long-term goals? Tick. Grandiose estimation of self? Ha! She took the time. Really saw people, saw me, and I noticed her. The only person I thought I noticed, should have noticed, but didn't notice that her options had shrunk at the end. People say they can't stop that voice in their heads berating them. Mine's disappeared. Silent. Even the voice in my own head doesn't like me. Fucks right off. On the outside, autopilot has kicked in, but inside, the autopilot is a blow-up doll, like in that film Airplane. You say that when something catastrophic happens, time speeds up. But this, no, without her, this is all slowed down. Right now, I am slowed down. I think I thought in time that was supposed to stop, a sign of accepting, becoming certain again, becoming not the me that was us, becoming the me that never existed before her, becoming who I should be, have to be, 2.0. Have you heard the ZENO paradox? No? It's a race. Let's say Usain Bolt against Dame Judi Dench. Now, Bolt's obviously faster, so we'll give Dame Judi a 100-metre start. All sense says he still wins the race. Bolt goes the 100 metres in 10 seconds, but in that same 10 seconds, Dame Judi travels 1 metre. She's no longer there. She's ahead. No matter how fast he goes, she is never where she was. As long as she is moving, he can never catch her, because by the time he gets there, she's moved away. She has the head start. Logical, but ridiculous. I want to live in that reality, the one where Judi Dench beats Usain Bolt. But I know that Bolt always wins the race. But I like the logic in its nonsense. The more I look and think and try to understand, the bigger and really real I become. You know when someone you know describes you, what you're like, or their perception of you as a person, your character, and in that you don't recognise their description and can't understand how this person that knows you, believes that's you. This feels like that. She's made me feel like that. Why didn't I notice? Notice her pain. I'm trying to answer that question, do the analysis. Analyse this nonsense. This worse reality. The one without my girl, with the green eyes and the Greek philosophy. And all that silence in my head. Now it's too late. She's not here to laugh at me, not getting it as fast as she always did. I think I want to believe she finally did it. That maybe she won the race. But I'm still here. Unnoticed.
Oh. Hi, my name is Grace. Gracie. Gracie. Hi, I'm Gracie. Oh no. Okay. Hi, I'm Grace, and it's nice to meet you. I'm named after the rhyme, Tuesday's child is full of grace. Well, everyone knows what that means. If you're born on a Monday, then you're fair of face, but if you're born on a Tuesday, you may look like the back end of a bus, but you've got the grace to carry it off. Never been married, no kids, no proper pets like a cat or a dog, but I do have a terrapin. Very low maintenance, apart from when I have to clean his shell with a soft toothbrush every so often, in case it gets a bit slimy. I have a tendency to ramble, so I wrote down a list of suggested questions that they emailed, and I think I'll just go through them and it might help keep me on track. So, question one. What motivates you to get out of bed in the morning? I take it you won't be interested to hear that I have to pee as soon as I wake up. That is pretty motivating. I want to say something important motivates me, like saving the planet or furthering the debate on the shocking lack of women in managerial roles. Not that those things aren't worthwhile. It's just I'm no eco-warrior. Although I am committed to recycling my household waste. I've had to have words with my neighbour before about putting food cartons in the blue bins, even though there are signs that say what you can and can't put in. He doesn't talk to me anymore. Question 2. Who is your biggest role model? Auntie Jessie. She says whatever she wants and doesn't care what anyone else thinks about her. I think I'm a bit like her. Or maybe someone famous should be my role model. I saw online that Emma Watson, you know Hermione from the Harry Potter films, was recently named the most influential British woman of the last 60 years. What the fuck? Oh, cliche question. What is your favourite film, book, song or television programme? Oh, this one's easy. 80s disco music. Kool and the Gang, Shaka Khan, Boney M, and of course Earth, Wind and Fire. Boogie Wonderland. Well, I used to sing this one line, you dance and jiggle her, Went to a karaoke evening, and it turns out that the line is actually, you dance and shake the heart. I don't think I can change it now. I've been singing the wrong words for too long. You dance and jiggle her. Sorry, I got sidetracked. What do you and your friends get up to when you go out? I'm trying to remember the last time we were all together. When was it? Oh, I know exactly when it was. It was when that bird decided to use me for target practice. I decided to go straight to the toilet to clean myself up, but the girls were standing just inside the door, so I had to explain what had happened. I could hear them laughing as I pushed my way through to the toilets. Well, luckily I had a pack of tissues in my bag. I'm known for it. You know, you got a tissue, Grace? Oh, Gracie's always got a tissue, don't you, Gracie? She's known for it. But the problem is that bird shit smells like nothing on earth. Have you ever smelt it? Oh, well, I swear that everyone in that place could. And when Pauline offered me a squirt of her perfume, I knew it for sure. I was stinking out the whole pub. But that's me. Wrong place, wrong time, bird shit on my shoulder. Anyway, okay. What annoys me? Oh, my neighbours. Not the neighbour with the recycling, the neighbour across the street. He comes home dead on 5:30 every night. She meets him at the door. They give each other a kiss. On the lips. On the doorstep. It's like they haven't seen each other for years. I mean, he only left her that morning. He's been at work all day, drinking coffee, probably demolished a spicy chicken sandwich with prawn cocktail crisps on the side. I mean, I wouldn't want to kiss oily lips or listen to complaints about John from finance. You don't work in finance, do you? I want to come home, stick on the telly, put on my PJs and fire on a microwave meal. I mean, some days I don't even want to talk at all. Okay, final question. Why should someone choose you after watching this video? Why should someone choose me? I'm fun, independent, and not looking for any big commitment. And I'm a Tuesday's child, full of grace. Do I sound like someone you'd like to meet? Oh, Grace. Well, it was better. Okay, take 10.
Look, to be honest, I wasn't entirely truthful about why I wanted your car. I started out well. Debbie was out, no due back till midnight. Olivia was out too, staying with a friend. Your car was perfect. Ideal for what I had planned with Stella. I brought my own CD and Wonderful Tonight was playing as I slowed and stopped at the bus stop where she was waiting. She looked stunning in her belted raincoat. It was tough to keep my eyes on the road as we drove to the parking spot. You know the place, small, surrounded by trees. So I parked in at the left, nose in, dead silence. Apart from the music, Dylan's Lay Lady Lay. I remember thinking, too obvious, but then Stella turned towards me, smiling. Didn't need to be shown how to recline her seat, just lay back with her hands behind her head. So I was leaning as far over to her as I could with the gear stick sticking into my stomach when I saw the trees light up in front of me. At the same time, that awful He's done this before, I thought. My windows were a bit misted up, so there's no much chance of us being seen. I could see out, though, no very well. The other car still had its inside light on. There was a girl on my side of the car. She had long blonde hair. Her green leather jacket looked like the one I'd bought. Oh, God. I rubbed a wee porthole in the condensation. Shit! It's my Olivia. She's barely 15. Skinner! I don't think you know him. He's no long in the village. 20, at least. Far too old for my Olivia. He lives in the scheme. I've bought blow off him a few times. But of all the guys in the village, my daughter chooses him. Just for a moment I thought about going over and dragging her out of the car, but they'd have me over a barrel. And no, he's no averse to being violent. They'd tell me to piss right off, and I'd have no answer. My brain was spinning when Olivia turns and looks straight at me. I turned away quickly, but I couldn't tell if she clocked who I was. I could feel a cold sweat. My heart was pounding. She'd never have looked. My evening was over. I told Stella, took her back to the bus stop, said bye, nae kiss. I watched her until she turned a corner and vanished. Never once looked back. Doubt if I'll see her again. Wouldn't blame her. But she was good to me. I felt good with her. I could forget the whole thing, except if something bad happened to Olivia, I couldn't live with myself. I've always been far too bothered about what others think of me. I could try to talk to her, but I could hardly take the moral high ground. We used to have a great relationship. We bought that jacket together. She'd always ask my advice and stuff. No anymore. I don't think she'd listen to me now. And if I tried to discuss it with Debbie, well, I'd need to tell her where I was. She'd see through me. She'd know what I was up to. She'd be devastated. I can't do that to her again. She warned me last time. Oh, what the hell am I going to do, Jack?
You know when you hear a song, part of a song, a few notes, part of the melody, and you can't for the life of you remember what the name of the song is, and it eats away at you, consuming your every thought like a nagging, itching sensation, until finally you piece it together, it's like you can breathe again. That's what it's like. Except for me, I'm still consumed by it. At first, I doubted myself. Was this memory genuine, or was it something I'd just made up? I don't know how you would start to make something like that up, though. And there was the feelings that went with it, feeling hot, almost claustrophobic. They weren't made up. Perhaps I was getting confused, mixing a different, real memory up with some other life event. But the more I thought about it, the more certain I am that this isn't some altered memory. This is a single event that happened to me. And I remember what it was that shone a light on it. Uni. Freshers week. I was out every night at the Union getting hammered on cheap booze. Like everyone else. I mean, pound a pint, why wouldn't you? And one night, after a few pints with my mates, we were dancing away with the lasses from the flat beneath us. Dancing, I wouldn't exactly call what we were doing dancing, jumping around like numpties, but as the night wore on, I was dancing closer and closer with one of them. And eventually we kissed. It was like a bolt of lightning. That was it. The two of us standing there alone, but then suddenly I'm somewhere else, in a pokey, hot, humid room, lying in bed, listening to someone be dragged out of the room, shouting. I remember the stale, harsh smell of what I now realise was alcohol. That was it. We were on holiday. We were on a family holiday with my aunt, my uncle and my cousin Graham. We'd hired a static caravan at some seaside resort near Dumfries, and it was boiling that summer. Spent every day at the beach, in and out the sea. I was charging around like a mad wee thing. Playing games with Graham, in rock pools, practically living off ice cream. I idolised him. And we constantly did stuff together all day. He was, 10 years older than me then? A big, knowledgeable boy, full of experience of the world, perfect for a wee thing like me to attach myself to and learn from. And he would go out every night, just after tea, down to the arcades, down by the reception area. I wasn't allowed to go, though. I wasn't old enough. Some things about that trip are hazy, unexplained. One day, suddenly, I wasn't as free to come and go as I once was, and I always had to have an adult nearby for supervision. And me and Graham stopped sharing a room. I know now, though, that, no part of what happened. Being woken up suddenly in sweltering, sticky heat in that tiny room, lying in bed, watching Graham be hauled backward through that door, and his parents shouting at him. And I remember the smell of alcohol around me, on me. It was the same smell of alcohol that I got from that girl I kissed. And my parents never said anything to me about it. Other than a few slight changes to routine, we just continued on our holiday. All of us together. Pretended to be normal until we went back home, back to our normal lives, back to reality, as if nothing happened. Why? Why would my parents not say anything to me about it? Not then, not ever. And ever since I started to remember it, it's all I can think about. Surely they must have thought this would need to be talked about at some point, that I would start to remember. I'm their son, for fuck's sake. Why the hell haven't they talked about it? I just need to know. I just need to know what happened and why they didn't talk about it. I'm trying to piece all this together so that I can talk to them. Can you help me? Can you help me talk to them?
The impact shook me from the days of my daily commute. The sound was excruciating, the sound of metal on metal. I remember trying to push the brake, but I thought, what's the point? Brakes don't work when you're mid-air and you're flailing about like a turtle. There were voices. And then there was nothing, like nothing. Until a white mist surrounded everything, and there were colours and images, and the trees were hanging upside down. I felt empty and full all at once, like I could explode at any minute, or I could just crumple and fall apart. I didn't move. I daren't move. I was content to stay where I was. And then there was a shape, this figure coming towards me. I didn't recognise you. But you beckoned to me. You weren't of shape or form like we know it, but I felt. I feel the same as you. And then there were snatches of a little girl climbing over barbed wire fences, that same little girl running with her dog. A graduation ceremony, I mean, who would have a haircut like that? First kisses, first cars. A life once lived but not yet complete, is it? I'm not flesh and bone. What is happening? I'm me, but I am not me. And there's a grave, and loving memory, and flowers. Am I dying? I can't be dying. There's still so many things that I have to do. People to see, people to love. I feel warm sitting here, comforted like a blanket that's heated. Oh shit. I am dying, aren't I? There's just blackness. But it's too soon. It is too soon. Is that a voice? Clear. Clear to 180. It's going to be okay. Isn't it?
I think it was partly jealousy. Wanting what other people, what I believed, other people already had. And I wanted it too. I don't think I was asking for much. And to be honest, the programme in here has helped me to learn to be honest. If only I'd paid a bit of attention before, then maybe none of this would have happened. I always felt like I was a nuisance. Like I always got in my mum and dad's way. It seemed I was different from my brother and sisters. Almost like they cared less about me. I remember once I went to the park across the road. Must have been 10 or 11. And Glynis, a girl who lived at the end of our terrace, threw stones at me. I was halfway between her house and mine, but I ran to her house, hoping her mum might give me a cuddle. We didn't have a television until the royal wedding, so I hated her from the radio. Maggie. She sounded so shrill, so hectoring. And that was before she took those elocution lessons. Should have been electrocution lessons, I can still hear my mum saying. My parents always voted Labour. So for once it felt like we were on the same side. And it felt good to hate. To have someone I was allowed to hate, as if Maggie was to blame for it all. And as much as I hated the Tories, I still wanted what they had. The money, the cars, the power. I'd even started believing in some of their promises. If you can't beat them, join them. I was always quick at maths. And back then, you didn't have to have degrees falling out of your arse just to get a foot on the ladder. My uncle got me a job in insurance. Basic arithmetic, really, but I started off quite well. I learned early to smile, to win people over, and to avoid getting a kicking. I can be charming when I need to be. Maybe I could work my way out, actually make them proud of me, become a modern day prodigal son. They weren't for turning. I can see that now. Sometimes I have to do things for myself instead of expecting so much from others. I've learnt that in here too. Anyway, it didn't last long. I was squeezed out of the job. The bank repossessed the flat. My flesh and blood had let me down. Thatcherism had failed me. So I found a third way. Somewhere I belonged, with like-minded people who'd been shafted by the system, intent on change. I can still remember those meetings in the back room of the Black Swan, and Jez coming in with the fag end of fish suppers that he'd taken from his shift at the Golden Fry. And we made plans. Grand plans. It was good to feel so secure, so sure about something. I seemed valued. It seemed useful. I felt like I was important. Typical, really, that I got caught on our first action. Me, Mac and Jez spray painted the building society on Hill Street in protest of their dubious investment policy. It was me that carried the can. But I don't blame them. I mean, I'd have scarpered too if I'd been given the chance. And they've stood by me. I know they'll be there when I get out. It was then that I met John. The judge referred me to one of his groups, saying it was a diversionary measure, thinking I might be the next Banksy. I really liked him. John, I mean, not Banksy. I've never met Banksy. John had a beard and glasses, a bit like you. And we got on. He even laughed at my jokes. I trusted him. I felt like there was a way out. I seem to remember it must have been about week 10, and he asked us to think of a headline. A newspaper headline, something that could connect us to our past. I could only think of a few. Bomber found on the moon. They meant a plane, not a terrorist. Freddie Starr ate my hamster. At least I knew that was true. And Jez said he was there. But the one that stuck was this one. The one that stuck was gotcha. So in week 11, we had to sit in the circle and tell the others about the headline we'd chosen and why we'd chosen it. I was 7 when the Falklands War started. And I can remember when we were told that we had sunk the Belgrano. Gotcha. As if the right thing to do was to celebrate. Gotcha. And all I could think about was the suggestion that the ship was moving away from the islands when she was attacked. Gotcha. So when that smug-faced, four-eyed fucker found it funny, found my story funny, I felt it in the ribs, like I was a target again. So I waited until the end of the last group. Must have been about 8 o'clock, starting to get dark. I'd made a habit of staying back so I could catch John at the end. So he wasn't surprised to see me approaching as he packed away the flip chart. And then he saw the glint. I got him right in the heart. The first cut killed him. And I made sure that he wouldn't laugh at me again. Of course, now I'm just giving him what I thought he deserved. I can see that now. I have changed. You can let me go. No one else needs to get hurt.